was about 8 years old. My mother murdered 3 people.
Police arrived
She
at the home.
had committed these murders during an exorcism. An exorcism performed on her. The Holy Church got involved, and she was transferred to the Centrino Mental Hospital in Rome. So here I am.
Devil inside. Boy, the devil better be glad he wasn't inside that theater tonight. The people were mad as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Who was done. I think people going straight to hell to get their money back.
I know.
Hey, man, give my refund.
And that was better. That was a better ending than the movie, where I was like, "Oh, for once, you guys finally fucking woken up and opened up your eyes to see what these movies are full of shit and how you should stop spending your goddamn money on them."
I know.
That's why I don't get the ending. I ended the way I expected it to end because all these movies end the same way, and then suddenly they have the audience mad, like, "Oh, it cut off right. Something's about to happen." I'm like, every last one of these does this. I take that back. There are 2 that don't do it.
Which ones?
Cloverfield and Apollo 18.
Okay, never saw Apollo 18.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
No. Apollo 18 is basically a Twilight Zone episode that they were too cheap to shoot correctly.
Yeah.
So they just made it a found footage film.
Oh, okay.
But it's got like that dun 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 ending on it. But all the rest of these, it's like a bunch of like watching slowly. Oh, someone has some. Okay. What? Did you see that in the corner? Oh, well, okay, all right, maybe not. Oh, there's a cat.
You always got. I was about to say, you always got to get my man the cat in there with.
And then right when you're like, oh shit, it's happening. Oh shit, what's gonna happen next? It's off. What? Wait, what? What's the rest of
And that's kind of like the shitty thing about it. I mean, because everything else before that, it was a slow crawling buildup. You know, they introduce you to the characters. They give you all their theories about what they think of exorcisms. As far as when you get introduced to the priest who perform these, and you know they're building the characters. But I mean, it's like until then, it's just kind of paint by numbers. Until like the very, I guess, towards the end of it, where it's like, okay, they're throwing a new element in these movies that I guess some people could say that it's pretty original. And then as soon as they start going with it, the movie's over.
Yeah, you see, that's my problem with the movie, and I'll explain to you, Leon. And you know what? Tonight we were talking about the movies we were walking out. I can see what you like in it, and I can see some other people liking certain aspects of this film that we don't see in things like Paranormal Activity and the other 2 movies that follow, and other found footage movies out there. But this movie is about exorcism. And it follows a character named Isabella Rossi, played by Rossi, Rosini
and Rossi,
but played by TV actress Fernanda Andrade, I think is her name. Anyway, which is cool because being that she's a TV actress, nobody's really ever seen her in film.
Right.
And so it adds to the documentary film of this movie, which I think is one of the better aspects of this movie. But she's going to investigate her mother, who people believe she might have a demon in her, and she wants to explore the time that she killed somebody during an exorcism.
Yeah.
And there's a documentary filmmaker who's following her around. They go to Rome, and she ends up the Vatican City, and she ends up getting not only involved in the history of her mother's own exorcism, but she's getting brought along on a series of other exorcisms that these Catholic priests are exploring.
These 2 renegade priests,
yeah,
who are operating under the wire. They're unsanced priests.
The priests have gone rogue.
We're going deep under that.
Don't tell nobody. Shh, but bring your camera.
They are the A-team of Catholic priests who perform exorcisms.
They're crack priest commando. You know, but that guy, that's what gets me. Like, one of them's like, no one must ever find out about this. And it's like, well, don't you think you should get this fucking cameraman out there? Go come out. Your ass gonna be on YouTube tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. He's like, I know they're gonna find out. No shit, Sherlock, because you got a goddamn camera.
Now these guys, they've had this conflict where they're like, okay, look, the church does not want us doing this. At the same time, people need to know. They seem to be conflicted. Like, we kind of need to get the word out so we can get some support and show that what we're doing isn't bullshit. At the same time, we know we're gonna get busted, so let's just go for it.
Let's just do it, yeah.
I love that these guys, too, were like the 21 Jump Street of the Vatican, to where I'm like, wow, these guys are really young. These guys just got out of high school, and they're already fighting the devil. I'm like, damn.
In Vatican City, half the population are priests. Yeah. There's little kids walking around with white collars on.
No shit. They hand them Bibles as soon as they're born.
Yeah, no, you try to act like they're the Dookie houses of the Vatican. Shit, you come out the womb with a fucking Bible in your hand. Yeah, but man, my problem with this movie, as opposed to what we see in these other films, is that say what you will about the Paranormal Activity movies, but
They're shit. Oh, sorry.
well, some people would say that, and some people wouldn't. And the people that wouldn't, they would say, even though, I mean, these days they try to pass these movies off as real, but ever since the Blair Witch Project, nobody has really thought these movies were real.
Right.
And people go in, I think, knowing that, and no matter how cheesy it is, they really want a fun experience with the movie. They want the gimmicks. They want those cheap jump scares. They want, they want, like, just, even if you can't see it, they want to see stuff just floating and crashing across the room. They want that cat going out like,
they're the perfect haunted house movies.
That's the thing. They're really haunted house movies. Now, this, I admire it for the approach that it's trying to take, but I don't know how this movie's going to perform. I'm always wrong about these things, but my sense, and judging by the audience that was upset, and I really don't like to always use this audience, but this is one of the few times I've seen an audience at a free movie who loved everything where they got up pissed about it. I just don't think that whole realistic aspect is going to play too well to people who are used to these found footage type movies. I think that they try to push that too much to where they're giving you a whole lot of drama between the scares. And I know how these people feel, because that drama to me didn't matter. These actors couldn't really carry it. It seemed like it got to a point where they were just trying to ad lib, and it didn't work. That the story got a little muddled, and speaking of the story, it was directionless too. It just didn't really seem to go anywhere.
It really was. Care. No, you're absolutely right, because the trailer had more direction than this entire movie did, because, like, I mean, we've all seen the trailer. We've all seen, there's obviously an issue with the girl's mother who's possessed with something. So you kind of walk in assuming that it's going to be about her and it's going to be another typical movie, like any other Exorcist movie. But as soon as, they jump on her story, they jump right out. They've revisited it again for a second, and then it's gone again. And then the whole time you're like wondering, okay, well, what is the whole point of this whole exercise to begin with? Like, is it to help her? Is it to help the mother to get the issue out that, these exorcisms are out there and, they need to get recognized more? And at that point, you're so lost and confused about what is going on. You got 20 people talking into a camera all the time. It seems like it is how many times they cut back to so many different people giving their own point of view of what this whole thing is about. You're lost. You really don't know what the hell is going on.
Co-host, this is why you should not watch trailers, because then you assume and you make an ass out of you.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I fucked up. Okay.
I'm sorry if I bought a can of Pepsi and ended up being Coke.
Yeah.
Not even Coke. It ended up being like some old generic grocery ass cola. You know what I mean?
You should let the marketing guys fool you like that.
But what is this demon in my soda? But man, I know what you're saying by this seems to you to be one of the more probably sincere sort of films in this genre. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because just talking to you right now, because when you came out and everybody was like, those people hating the ending, I was like, well, you know what? They had the exact same reaction when we came out of Unbreakable, so fuck them. I don't care what they say. But the way you were like, that was awful, and I was just so the opposite on it, and asking you like, I don't understand what makes this different from that. But what you just said, okay, I get it. I see that whatever I hate about these found footage movies and you guys hate is probably different things. And all the stuff you're saying, like the audience won't react because it's not a haunted house. It's not a fun ride movie. I was happy. I'm like, I'm tired of those. I'm like, I'm not a little kid. I like that it was more sincere, that it had the conceit of being a documentary filmmaker, not just some amateur bozo who just bought a camera who suddenly is getting shots he wouldn't be able to get shots of. I mean, it had a reason to have this going on. And for the most part, if I had just picked this up as a documentary, there would have been a while I would have been looking at it going like, wow, shit. Then it would come apart and I was like, wait, no way. But the way it started, I was like, you know what? They're doing a good job of holding to the premise. And even if somebody was shooting a documentary, an unfinished documentary about this going on, yeah, the story wouldn't have a direction, a flow, the way it would want you to go. They would just film what was there. Well, I thought it worked under the rules that it set up.
See, I did it. I thought they completely fumbled the ball with that, and I'll tell you why. Because they introduced the director of that documentary as another character.
Right.
Where he shouldn't have been there. I think these movies work when there's nobody. You don't know who the fuck is behind the camera, so you don't have their perspective, and you don't have their reasoning for making the documentary. Which when they added this character, it went on a whole nother direction, and it went nowhere. It really didn't go anywhere. There was no.
It was so freaky. That's why he came from around the camera. Because often the question is like, who is this jackass who won't put the camera down?
But we don't need him to be the audience. We're the audience. That's kind of what is the whole purpose of having these found footage movies.
Crazy. We do need somebody else to come in because you can't trust the girl
I don't
anymore.
think so.
You certainly can't trust the priest.
I don't think so either. I mean, I thought that they just. It's always kind of cool when you don't have the director putting himself in it too much. But I mean, that's not what bothered me. I tell you what bothered me the most, and I think what bothered the audience. They're along for the ride, and they kind of feel insulted when you push the realism of the movie too much. When you to the point where you're asking them to do work for a movie that's a fake ass film that they know is fake. Because I'm not ruining anything by telling people at the very end of the movie. They tell you, for more information about this exorcism, go to this website, find out the truth. We know the truth is there ain't nothing true about this shit.
Okay.
And it's like,
Well, I tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me there was a movie that did this also, and people were just pissed that they felt insulted. It was that movie, The Fourth Kind.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah,
I was like,
Mila
because
Jovovich movie.
that movie did it already. Then this time when it came up, I was like, all right, whatever. Because I was pissed when that movie did it. I was like, how dare you insult me and think that I'm stupid enough to believe
Well,
this?
it leads up to nothing, too. I mean, the climax that we get, see, this is what I mean by directionalist. Like, the movie starts to get interesting after a bunch of just talking and people starting to confess to each other and getting angry at each other. And finally when people think like, okay, what's happening here? What is this demon up to? It's over. And people are literally like waiting. I mean, because the screen blacked out and people are like, what's going to happen next? Go to this website at www.fuckyou.com. You know,
it seems like they're trying to get you like invested in the franchise. Or it's like going through one of those hell houses, and then all of a sudden you see all this crazy shit, and then there's a guy waiting for you at the door to go, here's a pamphlet so you can read more all about this. Hey, do you want to join our church? Do you want to join it? Hey, we got another one coming out next year. You ready for it? You've gotten to the point to where you're pushing your shit on me. You're not really trying to entertain me or to make me feel like I've just found a found footage, documentary.
Yeah.
You're selling me on a franchise at this point, which is what I think a lot of the people, I guarantee you a good 90% of them were really pissed off about that. But the fact that the movie had almost nothing to say that we haven't seen before. And as soon as it got interesting, as soon as people felt invested in that last 10 minutes, they cut off the goddamn camera.
See,
and how can you not be pissed off about
I keep
that?
hearing you guys say this, and yeah, you're right about that thing with the website at the end. That was boneheaded.
Because there was 3 cards that came up. It's like, check this out. And then after you do that, go look at this. And then after that, and then watch it on TV. When it comes,
the devil was there himself. Would you like to find out more about possession? Allow me to possess your mama when you get home.
That would have been awesome. In a devil costume, waiting outside, to hand out Jack Chick comics.
I know, man.
Nice wife you have there, sir. Let me get up in it real quick. Learn more about possession.
But the whole thing of saying that nothing interesting happened until the end, I was like, all right, Blair Witch. Those annoying kids stumbled around up until the very end when something happened and it cut off. Paranormal Activity, an annoying family where shit might move an inch or a chair stands up and then find somebody gets thrown against the wall and then it's over. But here you did have those scenes with those demonic possessions with the contortionism and the girl bleeding from her cootie and a cootie a close up gruesome suicide. I mean there was stuff going on. I mean Sure, you've seen it in the Exorcist and other possession movies, but in these kind of movies, at least it had something happening where it's like, wow, those are actually genuine disturbing images they have. And instead of me just sitting there going like...
Okay, may I address this, please? Because I see what you're saying, but in the case of the Blair Witch Project, you can say what you will about the Blair Witch Project, very revolutionary film almost. For the majority of your audiences out there, never saw anything released like that. It was a movie that was a video put on the big screen. The marketing behind it was very secret before we even had anything as viral as we do today. And it worked, man. The marketing in that movie was great, and it got the audience involved. It worked.
It set the groundwork.
Yeah, it did. So that movie's groundbreaking. You're right. The movie's groundbreaking for what it is. In the terms of Paranormal Activity, that movie works where this movie didn't. It's a build-up. I mean, it might be slow, but there are just little things that's building up to that final scare. And that's why that's why that series is successful. I mean, they might repeat the same thing, but people love it. And people do love and they do love the haunted house feel of it. It's fun. This movie right here, all those demonic possessions, like I said, before I even got in here, I wasn't really trying to judge the movie before I saw it, but my biggest fear was addressed. I've seen this shit. I don't know how many times I need to see, the devil getting up in a bitch and they playing Twister. You know what I mean? If you ever play Twister, you better hope Satan ain't at your house because he's gonna win every time. He's gonna get up he's gonna get up in your girlfriend. And she's gonna beat everybody.
I'm gonna look at Satan. You go, you're a fruit roll up. You're pretzel. Yeah.
But and the other
It
thing
does
is,
seem like the lesson of the movie is if you think somebody's possessed, just let them stay over there and don't go near them.
And just leave them alone.
Even if they're crazy, don't go visit them. What will you gain from that?
All I can say is, look, if you're desperate and you're looking to get laid, go find somebody who's possessed. They'll want to fuck you and do all kinds of dirty shit to you. They're begging for your
They'll
dick.
talk a good game.
now, but demons up in it, they'll be as. I'm telling you, I said it before. When I say it again, I want my girl to be possessed.
Yeah, you see them girls twisting their bodies in all kinds of ungodly ways. You're like, oh yes,
oh hell yeah!
Turn that camera off.
I will get a Ouija board tonight and just pray for a demon to come. Demon, come and possess my chick tonight, so I can fuck the shadow in ways I never had before.
So I can tell my friends I fucked a demon.
And you ain't never had no sex like demons.
That's right. You ain't lived.
And the other thing is, we get it. Demons just talk shit. All right, I mean, that's what they do. They get into somebody. Maybe it's just me because they make me angry actually. Because that's all demons do. They get into somebody, start twisting them around, and look at you like, "Fuck your mama in hell." And I'm like, really, you don't need no priest to come in here. Get a nigga out the ghetto and have him talk about their mamas. He choked the devil at that bitch, man. And that's and we see this all the time. The contortions, the demons talking vulgar to people. We've even seen the bleeding from the crotch. Which is what we see in this movie.
I saw it on Saturday Night Live when Richard Pryor was doing a sketch about it. Yeah, I mean,
the climbing up the walls and all that kind of stuff. I don't mind it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it. It's what people really want to see when it comes to exorcism movies, because I mean that's scary to them.
Yeah, I mean from the documented exorcisms, not that they're actually real, but that's where these come from.
And I don't want to begrudge an audience for getting that. I just don't think that there's enough scares surrounding this movie to make these certain exorcisms worthwhile. But that's just me.
There's nothing that makes it stick out from any other exorcist movie. Sure, you get your cheap scares, which half the audience is either going to be into it or they're going to be laughing their ass off about it.
Yeah.
Especially when moments are supposed to be tense and scary, when they go, "Oh yeah, I remember when you fucked your dad or whatever," and you get somebody like laughing. Yeah. Well, you got one person right next to you like scared shitless, like, "Oh shit, did you hear what she said?" And then you got another guy laughing his ass off, like, "Ah!" I mean, it's confusing. It's like being in a madhouse, because that's how I felt tonight. I really felt like I was in a sane asylum, because I mean, I got people either laughing or they're freaking out. They're going, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Wow, I need some fucking Advil right now," because my head is pounding because I got some crazy old bitch on the screen, like literally screaming her head off for like 10 minutes for no reason, just to creep out the audience.
I actually thought that was kind of cool at the beginning when the mom was.
I thought it was cool when I saw it in the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. That's like what we saw.
Period.
You know what though? I will say
Come
this.
here, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Maria, I'm your daughter. Connect the cuts. Connect the cuts, connect the cuts. Oh.
Just being tricky about that shit. Just being an asshole about it. Yeah. But I really would like a demon to one time tell a priest, "Let me suck your cock," and the priest looks around like, "Okay." No, wait a minute, I'm just kidding. But man,
I've seen it actually.
Can't let you do that.
Yeah,
you're too old.
Yeah. Corey, you're not visiting enough porn sites. It's out there.
Tell you what, you don't ever let me walk in there. I'll be like, all right, shit, I'm horny. But again, it's hard for me to gauge an audience. And speaking of Paranormal Activities, I would love to see how the movie is going to perform, because it was bought by $1 million by Paramount. Their cheap division.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, you can say that again.
Well, they got a guy he's working in the janitor's closet, acquiring the cheapest movies he can find.
He bought it from the trunk of his car.
I know. It looks so generic. Remember those black and white labels, the generic brands? I mean, I'm surprised they just didn't have a mountain and it said film at the bottom. You know,
It was that generic.
I know.
Generic exorcism movie.
Yeah.
But I think the division is called Insurge, and they bought it for $1 million. I mean, it's $1 million they bought it for. All they had to do is make $2 million on the first weekend, and it's like,
And here comes the sequel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're putting their arms around Leon and looking at you, Nikos, and like, we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I know,
Okay?
we don't care.
In fact, Leon, we don't give a damn if you do like it. We still got the fuck out our
We
face.
got more shit to sell Leon. He's gonna buy our cookies. He's gonna buy all that shit.
We got exorcism cookies, devil inside cereal. We got the devil inside action figures. And that ain't which way you want.
Devil inside pretzels and fruit roll-ups.
With the NXS soundtrack. You want all this shit. We don't give a fuck about you and Coles. We gonna sell this shit no
That's
matter what.
right.
So they're hoping for this movie to open enough to just even get the budget.
And it will. They will.
And I think it will.
They will.
And like I said, it's really hard for me to gauge. I'm not even going to go by that audience because I don't know. But if I really had to bet on it, I just don't think that there's enough there to entertain. I mean, for these kind of movies, I think there has to be an element of fun. And this movie tried so hard with that realism. But I will say this. I do give it credit for building that mystery at the beginning of the movie. And that's why I'm so upset because I really was brought in, and I really was admiring the movie for that documentary feel. They explain the camera angles that are set up.
Yeah.
They have people that sit around, and I talked about the improvisation in the middle of the movie, but at the beginning, I felt like it was very real. There's tables where people are sitting around having debates about demonic possession, and I found that fascinating. I was like, I'm glad to bring in a level of intelligence.
That was like that was the better part of the film. And it was the moment where I was like, oh shit, I'm about to eat all my words after what I said about that trailer. Oh fuck, oh well.
Now,
hey,
you heard that, folks.
I-
He was accepting it was good. And the other part of his brain said,
Well, you know
no,
what? I mean,
no, I can't let this happen.
Okay, well the thing is, it was decent. I was like, it was like, all right,
You did
all
not
right.
trap yourself with that.
I know. I was like, all right, I can live with that. But as soon as those exorcisms started happening, I was like, thank God, woo! Because there's a part.
you have exorcisms
Yeah, there's a
in this
part
exorcism movie.
where it's just like, okay, just lodge. It's like, okay, you're so good at interviewing people. So what? Anybody can do that. But when it comes to the whole possession and things that happen after that, things that happen in this movie between where, there's a scene where something really horrific happens and it's dealing, the situation happens inside a church and something really bad happens. And then the next scene, it's like, okay, why is this guy just walking around? Like, that's a pretty big fucking deal. Like, how in the hell is somebody just going to let that guy mosey on out of that church after what just happened? And it was just like, okay, now you completely lost me. Logic. And there's moments in the film that are like, there's small moments in that film that are like that where someone like me, I don't like to overanalyze, but there's things that were just so obvious where it's like, really? You guys didn't think to write something better for that?
Yeah, as smart as what they did to set up the movie to address all those complaints that people have started to and things that people have started to recognize and start to become keen on in these found footage movies, they slipped up and messed up themselves. I mean, they always get to a point where the urgency happens in the movie and they can't put that fucking camera down.
No.
To say their lives, no matter what. They're in a hospital talking about how they need to be in the hospital room watching that girl, making sure everybody's safe. And that asshole is still there filming, with that camera, and nobody has really been able to address that yet. I'm waiting for the movie where the camera is like surgically implanted in somebody's face, and they can't stop filming
with an accident.
Yeah.
Like, the only way we can save him was to put this camera inside his head.
Yeah. I'm wondering, and I'm still wondering, like, what kind of fucking batteries are you guys using for these cameras? I can't even keep my VHS camera on more than 5 minutes.
I know.
What the hell are you using?
I can't keep my phone on for that long. Yeah, what battery shop are y'all shopping at? But yeah, I hate to do it because there is a lot of stuff that started well in this movie, but man, at the middle of the movie, I really did feel like they were not only did I feel bored, I just felt like they were trying too hard, and trying that hard just pulled back any sense of illusion that they were trying to have. And that combined with everything that I've seen before, nothing here to make everything that I've seen feel original or fun or exciting or scary just leads me to give this some more bullshit.
Okay. Well, I clearly didn't feel the way you did. Matter of fact,
Clearly.
It kind of gave me the stuff. I mean, I was kind of more eating my words because it gave me the things that I felt like I've been missing in the other movies. This is one of the first of these found footage movies where, I mean, okay, certainly Cloverfield is the first. Let's just say, except for Cloverfield, let's just put that asterisk on everything. Like, I'm used to going to these movies and just not liking the characters at all. Like, they just can't die soon enough for me. They have no depth. They're annoying. And here, I was, you know what, the girl, Isabella Rossi, I was like, you know what? As much as I laughed at her premise in the trailer, I get it. I'm with this. And I liked just about all the characters. You know, even those priests, they were a little, you know, out there, but they would be for what they were. All the conceits of what they set up worked for me. And even the fact that, like, okay, I could see where it'd be slow and not moving to other people, but I was like, you know what? I like this not jumping around and doing a lot of crazy shit. It is more like a real documentary. They set these things up. I am going to end up giving it a high rental because co-host brought up something that I thought was important. And it was the way the audience reacted, to where you did have some people scared and other people laughing their ass off. And I'm kind of like, wow, I could enjoy this so much more if this room wasn't full of assholes.
You're right.
Who don't know how to, like, I had people next to me. I had a dude who had the loudest bag of chips I could have ever heard.
I heard that shit too.
He kept talking to his girlfriend.
Yeah.
People down below me had an iPad on and talking. There's people laughing at parts that they shouldn't laugh on. I was like, you know what? As much as I have always loved watching movies in the theater, I'm thinking home might be the way to go. And it certainly was a movie I was like, you know what? It's something you always say about watching something at home and getting scared. And normally I don't feel that. But watching this, I was like, you know what? I could feel that. And I don't believe in exorcism, but I was like, you know what? They're doing a good job of bringing these home to me. As far as like doing things I've seen before, it's like, well, I think there are certain rules. It's kind of like, you know, if you're going to show them, you can't see a movie about Zeus and go like, oh, great, a thunderbolt again. It's just part of the mythology. But for me, it worked. If I was to see it at home, I was like, wow, that took me on the ride that I could believe in. So, yeah, it's a high rental to me.
Okay, well, you made a fantastic point about the audience that you're subjugated to when you see these movies, because every one of these movies, I've almost had a bad experience because, yeah, you got people who all of a sudden it's like they feel like they're at home watching a home movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't know when to shut the fuck up. Or like the girl that was sitting next to you, Corey, who was just like, oh my God. Just like at the last like part of the movie, she was like, oh my God, what's going on?
I know the
Look out,
movie was
look
scaring
out.
the shit out those girls. They start out kind of like, oh, no. And in the middle, they're like, oh, I can't believe this happened. And at the end of the like,
I know. They were like laughing and screaming and laughing. He's like, oh, you know what's going to happen. And I'm like, really? Okay.
No, there was one point where they were getting out of hand. I did say shh.
Yeah,
but
I saw that.
These people are being affected by the movie. They're scared and they talk and get nervous. So I let it go myself.
Yeah.
It really doesn't bother me.
But for somebody who, you know, if you want to feel the intensity of what's going on, yeah, these are better watched at home. They really are. But saying that though, I'm going to give it some old bullshit. And let me tell you,
I'm shocked.
It just there was nothing new. I really couldn't like have a bond with any of these characters, even the daughter. Like I really felt no sense the relationship between her and her mother. I felt like there was no relationship really there, besides for her to just like have this guy come over and film her mom being crazy. These priests, I mean, they were the only two that I was somewhat having a connection with, and at some point that connection got lost because the movie just ended up becoming a silly farce almost. It became a cookie cutter, and I hate that. I really hate it, especially with a series like this. The only fucking way am I going to get interested in seeing one of these movies again is if they get the black preacher in to have him fight the goddamn demons, because, I mean, you know, that at least is going to be entertaining. That's going to be something new.
I know. I would love that.
I know. I mean, how can we go
Like,
wrong with
come in, just take his call off. Come on, bitch. Talk shit to me, will you, motherfucker?
I want him to look at the camera and go, you know the devil's goddamn liar, so I ain't worried.
Oh, that
Bitch. Bitch.
Shit, maybe get that devil.
Yeah, get him to do it.
Take that demon out of Leon and made him get this movie on rental. I'm expecting when we stop this review, or demons is gonna rise out. Good job, Leon. Now your soul is required in hell.
Here's your Amazon gift card like we promised.
This is a combination of science and religion. Based on my background in medicine, Let's begin.
Isabella. She said my name.
I found 4 voices on the recordings.
What does that mean?
Multiple demonic possession.
Please help my mother.
This isn't consistent with any form of possession that I've ever seen. I'm sorry, Isabella.
Spider came down.
Isabella, don't listen to it.